Welcome to the Colorado Homes and Living YouTube channel. I'm Kelly May.
And I'm Jill Jackson.
And we are here to go over all the ins and outs of Colorado and the real estate market. So if you're looking to buy in 10 days, 10 weeks, or 10 months, it's never too soon to reach out with any questions.
On today's channel, we are going to be discussing reasonable requests to ask for after you conducted a home inspection. So once you go under contract on a property, you will have an inspector go and inspect the home. This is a visual inspection, and he or she will look at the property from head to toe. One of the things that they will look for while they are visually inspecting is if the property has any structural issues or any exterior problems. If the property is showing signs of structural concern, these things you can often see because there will be cracks in the wall. Doors will be sticking. Oftentimes when you walk through the property, the floors feel uneven. So those are typically big signs that the property could have some structural issues. Another thing, when an inspector is looking at the property on the outside, they're going to make sure that they notice that there's proper drainage going on and making sure that water is draining away from the property. Because if there is any water draining towards the property, that could obviously cause water damage to the home, which is something you definitely want to avoid. Another thing that they do inspect is, making sure that the doors open and close properly, as well as windows, and making sure that there's no cracks or replacements that are needed for windows. And another really big ticket item that they do inspect is your roof, making sure that the roof isn't past its lifespan or there's not major wear and tear or damage to the shingles. All of these things are just part of the basic home inspection that an inspector will do. And if any of these items are flagged and are of concern, then these are definitely items that are common to take back to the seller and have the seller address.
So other reasonable requests would include if your inspection report indicates any major health and safety items. And this could be missing carbon monoxide and smoke detectors because they are required by Colorado state law. You have high radon levels that exceed the EPA recommended level. You also can opt to do things like a asbestos test, lead-based paint test, or even a mold test. And if any of those come up as positive, then those are reasonable things that you can ask the seller to correct.
Another reasonable request would be major systems and HVAC. So again, the inspector is conducting a visual inspection, but when they get down there and start looking at the AC or the furnace or the water heater, they can often see how old those units are, if they've been cleaned or serviced recently, if they are in working order. These are very large ticket items. The inspector will often recommend that these items need to be, at minimum, cleaned and serviced, and make sure that everything is in good working order for you. Another major system would be plumbing and electrical, and making sure that you don't have water leaks. The toilets are working, the faucets are working. Electrical, making sure you do have the GFCI, making sure that the electrical panel is up to code and there isn't anything funky going on with the electrical panel. So these are all things that the inspector will look at. And should any of these things come back as a concern, these are definitely reasonable requests to take back to the seller and have he or she address them.
Another reasonable request would be anything that falls under water and moisture. So for example, most homes have a sump pump that if it is not operating to keep that water away from your foundation, that's something that could come up. And any type of water intrusion. So that could also be the grating that's around your home or broken window seals, anything that's going to bring water into your foundation. And the sewer is a very big issue. So if you do a sewer scope and you determine that any repairs or replacement is needed, also very reasonable to ask the seller. And in order to have any of these items addressed, there's typically 3 ways that you can do so. And the first way is going to be by a seller credit at closing. So what is going to happen is the seller is going to give you a credit. It ultimately will reduce the closing costs that you bring on day of closing. So it keeps money in your pocket so that you can use your own money for those repairs at a later date with a contractor of your choice. Keep in mind that there are restrictions on how much you can accept in seller concessions. So you need to weigh what the cost of those items are going to be versus what you can receive to make sure that you're not essentially leaving money on the table.
Another way that you can get these items items addressed should they come up on the home inspection, and you want to be compensated for them, is a price reduction on the property. So maybe lowering the price some to offset some of the costs, or just simply asking the seller to fix and correct these items prior to closing and making it their financial responsibility, and then just having it all fixed and ready to go once you make it to the closing table.
Yes, and if you choose to ask the seller to make any of these specific repairs, it's really important that you get in writing or have an expectation of who is doing them, what kind of documentation that you want or expect for the repairs that were completed.
These are just some reasonable items to request after a home inspection, and then just ways to go about satisfying these requests that make you happy as well as the seller.
So if you are looking for more information about inspections, what's reasonable, how to negotiate, feel free to reach out to us with any questions. You can contact us by our QR code that will take you to the website or our phone number listed below.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We upload these videos on a weekly basis in hopes that you do contact us. So until next time, take care.